We're not recording, right? Because this muffin is delicious.
No, we're not recording. I'm just doing a sound check with everything right now.
All right.
You need coffee or you gotta got water? You good?
I just want to enjoy this muffin. That's so good.
What type of muffin is that?
It's called a glorious morning. There's like, I don't know, coconut, carrots, nuts, and I hate raisins, and I don't know. Yeah, it's like a carrot cake, pumpkin, apple, I don't know. But
How much was the muffin?
I don't know, like $2 or something. They're not bad.
Pretty small for a $2 muffin.
Well, I've already eaten half of it.
I like that shirt, dude.
Yep. I got it on the old computer and kind of traced their faces a little bit and just did a little sketching.
I feel like my face is a little lopsided if you look at it. A little lopsided.
How so?
My beard.
Well, that's how it was in the picture I took.
I feel like you just made my hairline go really far back than what it should be.
No, this is from the picture I took, man. It was pretty accurate.
All right.
Pull your head.
No, I'm taking the hat off. But you made your hair look good in yours, and you made my hair look bad on my.
This
side.
is a gorgeous beard. Look, you got the cool sunglasses and the nice eyebrows.
They're my regular sunglasses.
I got bushy eyebrows, man.
Yeah.
You got like nice eyebrows.
Yeah, big
got
caterpillars.
just little spiky hair, like nothing. You know.
Yeah.
Subtle.
All right.
You could have drawn it if you wanted to. Do
I can't draw.
Huh? Yeah.
I don't know what you just said right there. Are you ready to do this episode?
I'll tell you what my daughter's daycare teacher said.
What?
Get what you get and don't throw fit.
Okay, now we're 5. Now we're acting like we're 5 years old.
4, but
That was good. Intro.
jamming.
Let me turn these mics on. Mics are on.
Hot mic.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Live.
Welcome, Corrections World, to the 1, 2, 3, 4,
Fifth. We are in episode 5.
Episode 5.
Yep.
We got some exciting things coming up. So
Yeah. We got a new setup-ish in a nice little room we're in.
yeah, we've made a makeshift studio,
Yep.
so we're good there.
Yep.
Got some new video equipment. It's just going to take us spending a lot of time editing and playing with it. We got some new audio stuff, so when we have guests, we'll record everything they say. We had a few kind of run-ins with some wind and trying to get a lot of people in the big room earlier episodes that we're not going to run into again.
Yeah, we did. We got a cool little board right here. We can mess with the sound.
I'm telling you, none of these buttons actually do anything. It's just all for show.
No, they do stuff. He just doesn't know.
They
So
do.
he's more of the writer of this podcast that you guys are learning, and I am more of the editor, behind the scenes guy. He asks more of the professional questions, and I ask more of the.
Yeah, we definitely a little bit of yin and yang.
Yeah.
So I make sure our content is kind of good, brush all that up.
Yep.
We both do a lot together on the show, ideas and guests and everything. That's definitely a collaborative effort, along with some other folks in staff wellness and a lot of people we hear from.
Absolutely.
And then I kind of write up what we want to ask. We always ad-lib a little bit, try to make it more natural. And then, setup, Joe's a little bit more of a technical whiz there. And then editing, he spends a lot of time that you guys don't see. So we may have a 30-minute episode that could take you 8 hours to...
Longer than that.
Wow.
With getting the sound paired up now with this whole new setup we're going to be working on. It's going to be a fun time, but I'm excited, I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today too, Luke, for episode 5. Do you know what we're going to talk about for episode 5?
Well, we're going to tell everybody a little bit about what got us in this game.
Yep.
Kind of where we're coming from. We thought it's a good time as right now we're right after Election Day, so a lot of people had a holiday yesterday, so we're on November 9th. But getting close to Thanksgiving, Christmas, this may not be out for a bit, but kind of a nice breather. Yeah. You know, when shows put out a best of or whatever in the middle of the season or highlight reel, I think kind of to buy some time.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, and we also want you guys to kind of know a little bit more about us and kind of our story of why we're doing this podcast.
I'm going to play with this microphone. I don't know. Yours is different. Mine's down. What do we think about that? Does that look better?
Well, I'm really short, so like for me, I feel like this is covering my face, so I'm trying to
This is better. That cord
my
was like
stepping stone. Yeah.
right up there.
Yeah. So yeah, this episode's gonna be more of just about why we're doing this, our stories, so you guys kind of know our backstories as well. I know you've said in the past you come from a corrections family.
Yeah, yeah. So my father was a correctional officer until he retired at a couple different facilities, so got a kind of a different feel of all that.
Yeah.
Certainly some other family members, uncles, and a lot of family friends, stepmother. So just kind of grew up around it. So talking about prisons, what goes on there, I guess I was pretty aware of it from a pretty early age. I got really interested in it in college too, kind of from a different standpoint, not necessarily wanting to work there, but some of the social justice bins and also how that impacts those who work there. So naturally, is everybody guilty who's in prison? I don't know. I'm not a judge, jury. We don't control that part of the criminal justice system, but they have been convicted of a felony. Right?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who are capable of danger. Even if they weren't, you put that many people in a confined setting, there's going to be some risk involved. So that's part of, I think, what folks experience. Research will also show more of like the bureaucratic stress. So prisons are systems that are part of government that, have local, state, federal laws, all kinds of oversight. So meeting all those requirements, having the right staff in place, getting everything interpreted, whether you're a correctional officer, police officer, no matter where you're at in that criminal justice chain, there's a lot of headaches and stress that come with that. Late nights, crazy hours, weird directives that, are hard to implement.
So, kind of going back to when you were a kid and you watched your father.
Yep.
How did he come home, and how, as a child, did you handle the mood swings or whatever he was going through if he had a rough day at work?
Yeah, luckily, my dad's a pretty even-keeled guy for the most part.
Yeah.
I joke with my wife because her family actually expresses a lot of emotions. My family should go into poker, the way we kind of just handle things and just kind of, just kind of depended. There was obviously a lot of good times, and there was periods where there was so much pride in the job that he and his coworkers had, wearing that uniform, putting it on, and going out in the community and being able to tell somebody, yeah, I work in corrections, was kind of a cool thing. And other times where it wasn't so much, or, you got mandated different shifts, did get that promotion you wanted, got posted up in a spot you didn't like. I wasn't always privy to that stuff as a kid. And, should kids be privy to that? Probably not. So there's that. But then, you work in a correctional setting, and I think you naturally try to compensate by controlling everything you can because there's so much you can't control. So, we try to control when folks are moving to and from healthcare to programming to different housing units to, restrictive housing, whatever it may be, right? We keep track of where people are at. We move everything. But there's just a lot, when you've got 2,000 people, 1,500 of them folks in custody, 500 employees, that's a lot of different personalities mixing that you're not really going to be able to predict how that goes, and that's a lot of stress. So I think kind of the natural compensatory mechanism is to try to control those things you can, and sometimes you over-control those things.
No.
Right? So like cleanliness and order, doors being shut, those kinds of things, like you don't realize that not everybody's so big on that unless you're in corrections. Because, first week in corrections, you better have your keys, you better have your radio. You
know how to count.
Better have everything signed off and turned in. You better have everything done. Yeah. And I just killed our light over there. I don't know if that did anything or not.
Not really. It's fine. We look good still. I look good still.
Yeah, it was more shining on my pores, but yes, I mean that's really what it was. Like I don't think there was any huge moments to where I don't remember my father, going through major staff assaults or anything like that. A lot of it was just you're away from your family, and prisons are different. I mean, and they didn't have cell phones when he was working for the most part for most of his term, but. You're isolated, right? Like you don't necessarily get to see the news. You can't pick up the phone and just call somebody if you got a quick question like you can at a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
You really got to be you're focused. You're kind of locked up for those hours too. It reminds me there was a documentary, probably at least 5, 6 years ago, maybe older than that, on Red Onion State Prison. It was in West Virginia, a Supermax place, and they were doing like 12-hour shifts, and they just kind of talked about how that, like, we're locked up too.
Yeah. So, I guess as a kid, did you? It sounds like you were pretty sheltered, or not really sheltered, but protected of more of the negative things that come along with having a family member who works in corrections.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear about a lot of specifics of what went on at the job. Like, if my father came home, if we talked about something, it wasn't about something at the job. And even if he were hanging out with friends who worked there, we didn't hear a lot about that. So I think there's this natural mechanism to try to. I think some of it's good and some of it's bad. I see with our correctional staff, where I'm going to protect my family. They don't need to hear about all this nonsense that's going on. But also, you end up kind of putting up a wall, and they can't really help you if they don't really understand.
I think it's fascinating and it's awesome that your dad was one of the few who separated. If he watches this, he's probably like, "Oh, he's
watched the first couple. Surprisingly, he's getting into really weird stuff now that he's been retired.
Oh, God.
He's duly retired from his second job, and
Yeah.
And he likes to stay busy. So he watches like this farm podcast, and it's like the most boring thing of just people like driving tractors and stuff and backing them. And
So,
shit. But he loves that.
What's
so our
more
podcast
entertaining?
Is real exciting.
Is this podcast more entertaining to you, sir, or is the farm podcast more entertaining to you? I'm curious.
Well, I think we're more entertaining, but probably a lot more learning from the.
Yeah. Well, I
farm
mean,
stuff.
I think it's great. He's probably going to watch this and be like, "Oh, there was moments, Luke, that you might have missed that I did bring it home." But overall, from what you're saying, your memory as a child.
Yeah, and this is just, and I was the youngest of 3 sons, so probably the furthest away from it.
Yeah.
Would my mother or my brother say something different? Probably. I don't know. But we always looked at it as, we've got pretty good health insurance.
Yeah.
We got a decent house. We've got, we made it to middle class, so to speak, because of this job. So he was one of the first classes at the prison he started at. So that was like a really good thing. Prior to that, he had done some, over-the-road trucking, iron work, concrete stuff, like hard, laborious stuff, or stuff that you're away from your family a lot. So
Yeah. So now, as you being a father now, handling a lot of mental health stuff in the central region, and just pretty much all over the state as well, and knowing your corrections background, you've kind of touched on it in the past. How is your relationship with your kids? Like, are you very voiceful? Because you know how I am with my kids. We're very voiceful with our mental health. How are you with your kids in that situation?
we're starting to get there. I think we had a little different family situation. Our oldest has some special needs, so his ability to understand and all that's not there. And our middle child is kind of starting to get there to understand that kind of stuff, what it means. So, we're starting to talk and be kind of open about those kinds of things, being receptive to one another, kind of emotionally, and trying to, explain like what's going on, or why I was at work, or why I was home late because I traveled to this place or that place in an age-appropriate way, kind of telling her what was going on.
That's hard, just to make things PG or G, because like we've talked about, our kids are very observant with what we do every single day.
Well, and have you ever, you probably have a bunch of buddies that have been or are in the military.
Yeah.
They'll get around each other and they'll start using all these shortcut terms, and you're like, what? You know what I mean? So I think,
or if you don't want to look clueless, you just I know what that means.
I've had a lot of head. Sure, CPTO, Yeah, so I think we probably do the same thing, where we use a lot of shortcut language, colloquial stuff that other people are. What do you mean line movement? What's that?
So, one question I have for you as well. I'm just drilling you with questions, because this is, I feel like, important for our listeners and the people who watch to see kind of how we personally handle things with our mental health, because we are a mental health podcast for staff, right?
Yeah.
We're here for staff, but we all have our own struggles. We have our own issues we go through, and if we can have moments when we break down what we deal with, I think it'd be important as well. You know, so like my biggest thing is like family get-togethers, going to the movies. I sit all the way in the back at the movie theater so I can watch everyone coming in.
Well, you're also short, and you have to be able to see over
Yeah,
everybody.
and the higher up there. Yeah, thank
I
you.
understand.
But then like when I'm at the movie theater, I feel like a rat and I'm just trapped in a cage. Like there's an exit, we have the exits, you know.
Yeah, so there's something you learn. I would guess probably a lot more so on the security side than programming or other folks that are in, detention types of facilities. But when you're around hundreds of people with that kind of tension in the air, learning to be very hyper vigilant of your environment, which is probably the most common symptom of PTSD. I see. I work with a lot of veterans and obviously with staff wellness, that hyper vigilance. So you're just kind of scanning and very, very aware. So it's like simultaneously you're really, really in the moment, but also you're not really able to hold conversations. You're kind of in that survival mode.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes when we go into public, that kind of thing kicks in when you've worked in corrections for a long time, because you'll see somebody just walking a little bit differently, or bouncing on their toes, or somebody that seems a little agitated, or two people kind of getting into an argument. And most people probably could just pass by, but we're like, okay, that's something we've either got to address or avoid.
So on a negative aspect, how has this job affected you?
Good question. I mean, I do have a lot of really positive things from this job. Being in staff wellness, probably right at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time we get together, everybody in the group, it's refreshing. It just puts a bunch of wind in your sails. To know
it's how me and you met, right?
Well, yeah, the bromance started there.
Yeah,
And then it took off with the podcast.
Yeah.
As you guys can see.
Yes.
Camera shots.
Yeah, there it is. Look at that camera, look at that camera, look at that camera. Yeah, what's up?
So, tons of good has come out of it. Decent paying jobs, good, good health insurance, hopefully good retirement. So those kinds of things are all good. But there is a lot of stress on my side anyway, of a lot of things we can't control, but yet we've got to really try. And people are like, well, how does that really make sense? That's the most abstract thing. Well, we've got all these different rules from different entities, whether it's a lawsuit or our own imposed rules, penal codes, administrative directives, whatever.
Yeah.
Having the staff, having the resources, very seldom do we have both of those things, right? We're just, and who does? It's not just like it's for us. There's not a mental health or a correctional setting or a, criminal justice system that has too many resources. I've never heard of that.
For correctional people.
Well, for correctional or mental health. So even if I were working just in a hospital setting, it would be probably similar in that, we're doing a lot with less than what the system was designed for. Corrections. So we have all these rules, right, that should apply pretty evenly across every facility.
Yeah.
Well, what do we know about our different facilities?
They're ran completely different.
Yeah, and they look different.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of facilities that structurally look pretty similar, built around the same time. But even they have a lot of nuance. And they all take on kind of like the Zimbardo study. They have like their own kind of life, essence. And then you've got different leadership, different histories. So there's a lot of moving parts. And we have different security levels. We have, different amounts of restrictive housing. We have different programming at facilities, different, more or less staffing, more or less population, physical structures that are in better shape or worse shape that you're kind of working around. Yeah. So those kinds of things for all of our departments, I think, are difficult. And, it's who wants to spend money on prisons, right? They're not. We already have a really, really large budget. Not that I want to get into kind of like any politics, but like it's just not a popular thing, right? Like, part of the community says, oh, if you've committed a crime, lock them up, throw away the key. Well, no, we're not going to do that. There are constitutional rights. There are, minimum standards that we're going to make sure everybody has. And we've got to do that for folks in custody and our employees. We got to make it a safe, decent environment for everybody. It just works
absolutely.
Better. So those kinds of stresses, whether I was on the ground providing services, on the ground supervising those and providing some services, are kind of responding to a lot of crises, coaching people, helping them interpret policy now. That part can get stressful. I would almost rather be there dealing with it myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like, okay, I've got a strategy, I can try it. But knowing that, like, I supervise, 12 different facilities, mental health, and they're all different. Some need me more than others do. That can be really stressful because I build, really good relationships, or at least I try to, with these people. I really do care about our crisis team members, like from your facility. I know
I'm
a
on
lot
the
of
crisis
them.
team. Yeah.
I know a lot of them by name, and we talk a lot. I may talk to them more than my family some nights.
Yeah. I've called you a couple times. Hey, Luke, it's me again. Hey, buddy.
So, building all those relationships and understanding, like, boy, he's there at the facility. He's in a tough situation. I've got to understand that and try to help him, whether it's, just help him de-stress, give a little bit of guidance, give some context, give some resources, direct them to some other ways, as opposed to just like, this is what it is, click.
Yeah.
But that weighs on me when I feel like, I guess I'm not able to help those folks I supervise or work with enough. That's some of my own personal stuff. Like, is it me? Is it the system? So that can really weigh down on you. And obviously, like, all we want to do is keep everybody that's employed with us and incarcerated by the state alive and as healthy as we can. And that's a really tough task.
How do you decompress after like a shitty day?
Yeah, and there are some good, some shitty, and everything in between, right?
Yeah.
And then there are waves too, right? Where there's like a couple months where it's just, I just got to get through these couple months. There's no bright light at the end of the tunnel, and then there's days where it's like, I can't believe I got paid for it today. That was pretty easy. So it all comes and goes. I think keeping it in perspective, that don't be a victim of the moment, that things will get better. Really trying to organize, set out, okay, what can you actually control, what can you influence, and what is totally out of your control. So you can kind of leave those things alone.
Yeah.
And a lot of things, I think you'll find that you can influence a lot of things. You don't have direct control over a ton other than your own kind of showing up, being there, how you dress, those kind of things.
Time out right there, what you just said, and that's key. And it's kind of one thing that we've talked about in the past as well. Things you can't have control on, that's really not that major of letting that ruin your day. Like, dwelling on that. Like, that right there is one of the hardest things that we're doing in corrections when it comes to if something happens at work, if there's a AD or an ID or something that just really annoys us and it's out of our control, we're gonna really gonna let it come home with us and affect our entire workday at times.
Yeah, and you'll see where some people, I think a lot of it comes from good situations, perfectionists that really just want to, hey, I do A+ work. I can't do A+ work today because this hurdle's in the way. But how do you then react? Because maybe you can't do A+ work today, but don't give us a D effort because you're ticked off, or don't prevent somebody else from doing that A+ work because of your attitude. So, yeah, and it's part of it's caring. So how do you maintain, like, I still care about this job. I still care about the policies. I still care about the people. How do I, like, keep that in the back of my mind? I'll keep thinking about it, seeing if there's something I can do, but not to a point to where it's impacting my health, my relationships, and I'm not being that toxic person at work.
Have you ever became a toxic person at work? Like, has this job, I'm falling over my words right now, but has this job ever made you just that negative energy?
I'm sure it has, yeah. I mean, that's a good question to ask those that have been around me. Like, I try.
Has it made him an asshole? Just yes or no.
Don't send an email. I don't Facebook.
No,
I don't want. I'm assuming the answer is yes. Now, I really do try to be mindful of that. I mean, I think the good thing about having advanced training in mental health is you do a lot of self-reflection. So, all the content, all the theories, all the fancy interventions, anybody can learn that. But being able to kind of know yourself, but that's a constant process. So you may hit that target, and that target stays the same for a while. Then you may change, the environment may change, and you got to go back through and really dive in and really know, okay, why did I act this way?
Yeah.
What was my motivation? What was I really trying to get out of? What could I do differently? And to take criticism, like not let it beat you down and make you feel a little bit like this is going to be tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, but I'm going to be better for it. So I'm sure there's been times that I have been toxic. I hope that I've minimized again, nobody can shoot for perfection.
Us men,
just try to minimize,
we don't
contain the spill.
We don't mature technically to
very, very slow.
35.
Well, I'm older than that, but yeah. I still in my head, maybe it's because we grew up watching all those teen movies with like 25-year-olds playing high schoolers. Like,
Yeah.
I still in my
Yeah.
head, for the longest time, I felt like I was 17 forever. Like
You look
just
like
not
a
just
beautiful
not,
17-year-old.
No, I'll take it. Like I just wasn't quite mature enough.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm still not really mature in a lot of situations. Like
No.
I know between us, it probably seems like I am. I'm the guy that's going to say the right thing. But like in a lot of other meetings that are pretty serious, I'm like, oh, this is getting kind of serious. I better cut a joke.
Yeah.
And people like, ugh. I know, like we don't do a lot of video calls. We do a lot of audio calls, but I know my bosses sometimes are.
Oh yeah, I know John and Chuck with me all the time. Whenever I raise my hand or say something, they're probably watching this right now. Yeah, exactly. Like, geez, here we go. He's stupid. He's getting ready to talk. Let's hear what he's going to say.
But I hope I answered your question on the toxicity.
No, yeah,
I think
yeah.
so. But not just at work. I know probably what's worse is I've been very mindful at work and minimize the toxicity the best I can. I'm always trying to do better. But I'm guessing it's probably spilled over more social life, important relationships, family for me.
Yeah.
Like whether it's just sort of detaching from them. Like, I don't have the energy for you today. I gave it all to work because that's where I get paid. And then, your kid or your wife or your friend or, family member needs something pretty minuscule from you. And you just don't do it, or you're a jerk about it. I think that's probably what I do a little bit more than others, but trying to reframe that and understand that taking that time and doing something for somebody else, like I'll probably feel better for it. So even it can be kind of selfish. Like I'll still feel better. They'll get their needs met. We're all
kind of about how we act like children at times. The older we get,
most of the time, but yeah.
Yeah, the older we get. For me, what I've learned is, like, yes, my job has spilt in at home tremendously. Like, it's been in a negative way. Choosing my battles has probably been the hardest thing for me to do at home. Me and Amanda, we got married right after high school. I was 21, she was 20. And then...
just young pups.
Yeah, just young pups, and so...
Back in the old days, it seemed like you were pretty old, but like you
Yeah,
think back, like
I thought I was
21-year-olds don't know much.
She
I got
is a
married
saint,
like at
dude.
28, 29. I just didn't know much then.
No, yeah, and just she has put up with so much of just my idiot stuff. That's me being PG, but just straight idiot stuff since high school to now. I know I still bring work home.
Yeah.
Anybody who I sit with or talk to, I will always say, "There's no way you can leave work at work and home at home, at all." In my opinion.
Well, I don't think there's some switch you can flip.
No, it's not.
You're a person, and you're a little bit different in every setting, right? Every setting pulls something a little bit different from you, but that core of who you are is there. And it's like the old adage, "Hey, I want you to not imagine a big purple elephant right now." What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Big purple elephant.
Exactly. So, you've got to learn kind of passive control. Yeah. Like, this is going to stay in my mind. I'm going to reframe, shift gears to something else. If it comes through, I'll let it pass, but I'm not going to, try to attack it head on. So, let's talk about how we decompress. You kind of asked me, and I don't know if I gave you the right answer, but I want to hear from you too. So how about you go first? So you have that crappy day or crappy week,
So
whatever your Friday is, whether that's legit Friday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, whatever shift you're on.
So I'm on the 3 to 11 shift, and I'm off Monday, Tuesdays. So Sundays on my Friday.
That could be brutal.
Yeah. And I feel like almost every day something's happened on the weekend that Valentine is a part of. And it has been draining the past Sundays because I do 16s every weekend. Saturday, Sunday, I do a 16. And then I go into my weekend, and then the kids have school. Throughout the week, I would say I go to bed like at 8 o'clock with my wife.
You're early.
I know. I look forward to going to bed because I am so...
So on the days you're not working, you're in bed at 8. Obviously, you better not be in bed at 8 if you're working till 11.
I'm at work, yeah. No, I mean, so for me, it's like going home, cooking supper. I try to maintain a clean house while she's at school, teaching, or my kids are at school. So decompressing for me, it's either trying to read a book real fast, get a couple chapters in. If it's working on the podcast, I know it's technically working, but doing all the edits and
This
lining
is stuff
everything
that
up.
puts energy back in you. Yeah.
It's fun. It's relaxing for me to be a part of something like this and then have the chance to edit it as well. I used to write a lot. That's something I really wish I'd get back into it.
Yeah.
Because I have a couple stories I'd like to publish. And I already published my first story back in 2019. So just getting back to writing for me has been kind of something I want to do. Music. But to answer your question in full circle, music for me is how I decompress. Just getting lost in different songs. I'll find a song, I'll be just caught up with it for weeks.
Nice. Well, what's some of your go-to stuff? Like we pull up your phone right now. What's whatever device you're using to listen to music? What are some of the?
I don't know if I want to share my my playlist. I love Wardruna. You know who Wardruna is?
Wardruna?
Wardruna.
Wardruna?
Druna.
No,
Yeah.
obviously I don't.
So it is like Nordic music, right? And so if I'm getting ready,
I mean, look at this. Of course,
so if I'm getting ready to go to work, I have this song.
you're
that's like-
drinking like meat out of an.
I
elk
do.
horn. You're
I
like,
do have a couple elk horns. I'm not lying, and I do make mead.
He's
for
watching
fun.
Lord of the Rings. He's got that battle axe that the trolls have.
So I do have 3 ale horns. Yeah,
Nice.
and I do make mead.
So, kind of what I'm hearing though is either making, creating, or appreciating some kind of art.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I think that's one of those compensatory things. Like, luckily for this podcast, this is one of the few times like being creative in corrections in a lot of fields is not really good.
No.
Like I tell it with my wife, like, you're in certain like legal, you don't want to be creative. That'll get you in trouble. Like, you want to be by the book.
I mean,
but this is a kind of a rare instance where, not a lot of time each week, but a little bit of time each month, we get to create and be creative.
yeah.
So,
I mean, we were creative with the director in that episode. And,
that was fun.
and we're still here. So,
And I think he had a lot of fun and needed
Yeah.
it too. And it helped us kind of appreciate. For me, I always do better when I kind of understand something. Like, I'm at this level where, there's trees below me, trees above me. I don't want to be a victim to my perspective. So it's great to sit and listen to people from other perspectives and try to integrate that
Yeah.
to better understand
Yeah.
what they can and what they can't do. Because there's no one person or even 2 persons together that can sign something with a pen or wave a magic wand and change things. There's too many systems. In what field, even in private sector, is probably not terribly different.
kind of going back to how I handle myself with my family as well, kind of what we talked about. What I've learned to do with the pressures of this job and how it affects me negatively. Like when I asked you how it affects you negatively, and you answered, but with me, it's more of I shut everybody out. Like there'll be a time when you might even try to text me and I will not respond to you at all.
I'll come find you.
And not because, Joe's in a bad state, just because Joe's so overwhelmed or drained.
Joe doesn't want to take any new input.
Like everyone.
Yeah,
My
we
wife,
got to
my
get you
kids.
one of those. What are those sensory chambers or whatever? Like where you float and there's like nothing.
That would be amazing. Okay, but
Listen, if we got some of those in those wellness rooms, put people in there 10 minutes, they come out new people.
yeah,
Guarantee it.
yeah. But what I've learned is by forcing myself to send that text, is by responding. Because my uncle, he was on. Me and him talked about this one time, and he explained like the depression and the dark cloud just coming over you while you're sitting on the couch, and you have a split decision to make. You feel it's just getting heavy and heavy and heavy, and then if you decide to let it just overtake you, there you are on your couch or in your room for 3, maybe 4 days, just drowning in that depression, just drowning in it. Or, you know what? I feel it. I see you, dark cloud. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna take the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
Right. You know what? I'm gonna go fold some laundry real fast before Amanda gets home, or maybe I can get my daughter's podcast thing all prepped up before she gets home from school, so me and her can do something like that. Like for me, it's making those small steps. That's how I try to overcome.
And I think you got to know,
cloud.
like, what do I have the energy to do?
Yeah.
What is going to be the most bang for the buck? So if I put 2 units of energy in, I'll at least get 2, maybe 3 or 4 back, as opposed to putting 5 in and getting 1 back. Because there's nothing wrong sometimes sitting on the couch and being depressed or sitting by yourself.
Yeah.
But that's not a place to stay forever.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it would be kind of short-sighted of me as a mental health professional. Say, oh, you're depressed. Just work your way out of it. All you need to do is just get up and exercise. yeah, I would if I felt good.
Yeah.
That's kind of it's a chicken and the egg. So for a lot of people, if they can get over that hurdle and start doing, even if it's something minor, like, I'm gonna fold this basket of clothes, and it'll make me feel better. Or I'm gonna clean my room, or I'm gonna bake something, something small. They can start there. They're always gonna be a little bit better off than being too passive.
My alarm is set regardless if it's my weekend or weekday or the day that I work. It's at 5:30 or 6. As tired as I am, I know if I don't get up at that time, I cannot be proactive the rest of the day, regardless how late I stay up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you get a good start, kind of, attack your day head on, and don't dwell on it. Like, I'm going to make this day mine. This day's not going to make me.
So my oldest came home from school one day, and she was talking about how she was getting bullied, and then how she stood up for this one kid who was getting bullied as well. And I know at work we look at it as banter. We look at it as
well, there's
hazing.
a fine line, especially in a correctional setting. A little bit more men than women, but I think in a correctional setting, all genders probably do it. Where you're loved if you're being picked on a little bit, but there's a fine line.
So one thing I was wanting to tell you when this happened, because I love the show Ted Lasso on Apple TV.
Great show.
I love this show so much.
I love Sudeikis. He's awesome.
It's about a college football coach who decides to go overseas. He gets hired to coach football, but it's not American football. It is soccer, football, right?
Yeah.
And he has no idea what he's doing, and it covers this mental health on a whole different level. It helped me realize some things.
Yeah,
as well.
the later season started getting into that a little bit.
Yeah.
You saw some of his
My
early
wife,
trauma.
who doesn't like sports shows, loves this show. We're ready for the next season. So,
And there's a little bit of sports in there, not a lot, but it is a little bit of a drama, but really a feel-good comedy that everybody needs.
there was an episode when he's playing darts.
Yeah.
And he's essentially, long story short, getting bullied, and his boss is getting bullied.
So it was like his boss's ex-husband
Yes.
who used to own that soccer football club.
Yes.
Real wealthy guy.
Who challenged him to a dart game, right? And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know I had these darts on me." And he comes out and he darts it up. And Ted goes, "Oh, I didn't know I was left-handed." And he just instant bullseye, right? So the whole point of this episode is at the end when he does his dialogue. And this is one thing I told my daughter when it comes to bullying. It's you got to be curious, not judgmental. And just that, in a sense, I tell that to everybody now. It's know your worth and be curious, not judgmental. Because if I was curious about who you are, Fairless, I would ask you, right? If I want to be judgmental about you and your hairline, I would let you know, hey, I'm
The ever-changing
judgmental
hairline.
about you and your hairline, right? And so for me, it's just one of those things. I showed her that clip in the episode, and it clicked. She's 9 years old, and it clicked instantly. And so now she goes around school doing the same thing that you and I do, and the same thing that I do at work of telling people to be curious and not judgmental. So it was just one of those dad moments I had.
No, I mean, that's great advice.
You know?
That's one of the best. Be a critical thinker, take feedback well, and be curious are probably the three things to live by, and you can be successful in almost any field.
Yeah.
So let's get on to some more wellness positive stuff. So I've heard a little bit about some of the things you do to decompress to feel better. I want to get a little bit more into some other things you might do, and I'll talk about a little bit what I do and other people do. So outside of some of the creative art, music kinds of things, what else are you doing for your health and your mental health, family wellness, financial wellness? Like what kinds of things?
So for family wellness, what me and Amanda do when it comes to how we communicate, it's very much like if she has a rough day at school and I have a rough day at home, or if I have a rough day at the prison, we set 10 minutes aside. On our alarms, we set the timer, and I puke everything about work to her, and she pukes everything to work about me, to me. And then we're done talking about it the rest of the night. Like, we try to limit how we talk about work and how.
Where'd you get that idea?
I don't know. She read it in a book. She read it somewhere, and she was like, "Hey, let's try this." And when she found it, we were fighting all the time because she didn't feel like she was being heard. I didn't feel like I was being heard. And then it was that pissing contest of what I'm going through is more than what you're going through, right? And so by us realizing that we need to set that time together and communicate, and when the other person's talking, we just listen, right? That is one of the things that we do for our relationship type wellness. For family wellness, she found this app, right? It's 1,000 hours outside. So it's a challenge that you log it, and you have everybody in your family a part of it, and you spend as much time as you can outside, and you log it. And at the end of the year, the goal is to get to 1,000 hours. So if it's just picking up trash outside along the side of the road, if it's going outside and walking the creek and fishing in the creek we have, or if it's trampoline, or I do it when I'm mowing.
Bike ride, camping,
Yeah.
playing in the park.
Yeah. Rock climbing. I know my oldest loves rock climbing. And so we do stuff like that. I love having little cookouts outside as well, little bonfires,
Those are excellent ideas. Excellent
even in the
ideas.
summertime.
What do you do to keep that just awesome beard? Like,
Okay.
you got to be eating something good because that is.
So the last time I had it that length was this April.
It grew that much at that time.
April. So this is his timestamp.
Are you like eating prenatal vitamins left and right? What are you doing?
No, it's just there's oil. You want to smell it? You can.
It smells good. Yeah.
It smells like sandalwood. I got that on camera. He smelt my beard on camera.
It's a strong musk, but a manly musk.
Yes. No. Yeah. So no, I just oil it up. I shampoo. My wife did buy. I'm gonna say this on here. I'm gonna regret it. Listen. So she bought this blow dryer that has this attachment on it. Like it does something to her hair. I don't know. And then I got on this TikTok like downward spiral of what you can do for your beard, and it was the same exact blow dryer. So lately,
Is it one of those things that looks like it has like the finger thing?
Yes.
Right? It doesn't blow. Just it kind of
touches gently,
and it puts
hot air
between.
So before I came here, I blow dried my beard after I put the oils on it just for you. So that's why whenever me and
I
you
don't know if
meet
I'm glad I asked that question.
to whenever we do these episodes, I always know I have to blow dry my beard.
Yeah, that's not a glare off that beard. That is
No.
just high priced, like frankincense and myrrh oils.
Thank
like,
you.
Like the wise men couldn't have given you anything better for that beard.
Thank you.
That's good beard.
Thank you.
Hence the name. Yeah, so for me, like on wellness, there's a lot of different things that I do. Some things I keep up with better than others, and it depends on what kind of time we have. And there's a lot of areas of wellness as we kind of talk about our kind of system of wellness.
Yeah.
And I don't know you're ever going to hit all of them at once. You can't pay attention to everything. Been trying to do more, like we're doing more activities with the kids. Trying to do that, and thinking about it, it's like, I gotta run this place or go this place. But I'll tell you, like when they're happy and you see that joy and they're getting the exercise and they're tired, that makes me pretty happy.
Yeah.
So it's actually
yeah.
well worth it. That's one of those things you think you're putting in a lot of effort, you're not going to get much back. You'll get a decent amount back. So doing that, we got a couple of friends we go to dinner with, hit or miss, almost at least once a month. We kind of joked when we started hanging out. They had been to all these cool places to eat around here, and we'd lived here for a while. We just hadn't really ventured out, and like we go to one or two places, we get the same thing, like
You're one of those. That's what my wife does. It's the same exact thing whenever we go to Mexican every single time.
yeah. So they started taking us some other places, and I had sushi 3 or 4 times before I moved here.
Yeah.
First time I was in Chicago, a part-time job for this catering company, and they had some like, here, try this, and I was like, just really not expecting to like it. Just wanted them to shut up. I'm like, this is actually really amazing. It sounds gross, but really good.
Yeah.
Tried it again. It's probably like gas station sushi. I'm pretty sure I got food poisoning. So it's like years before I tried it again. But like we go to a place in Springfield, and like I'll get it. And I finally got my wife to try a little bit of it. It just a bunch of different full flavors. So, but then we'll go and socialize, and it's funny because a couple we hang out with, the men have the same jobs and the women have the same jobs. So like we can really understand one another really well. So we do that, hang out with the neighbors in the evenings. Sometimes now I've got more family that lives in this area, so we try to get together and do stuff from time to time. I see my folks, multiple times per week. So that's always nice there. Financially, we're not on any kind of like specific system. I know a lot of people do that Dave Ramsey and love it.
Yeah.
Good for you if it works. But we've just made some more goals and kind of taken charge of certain things. So that's been helpful to try to get more financial independence. So we do that. But as far as like physical types of wellness, I've always, not always, but most of the time been into exercise. I'm not like a fitness guru. You don't look at me and say, "Oh my God, he's got like six pack and he's thin." That's not me. I don't have that.
I'm
body
sitting around
type.
beside him. He does not have a six pack, but you
No.
do something. What is? I saw your picture on Facebook. The other day.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Oh,
so,
okay.
and
He's a kung fu fighter now, something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
So, I think that was modeled for me by my dad. Like almost every day he came home from work. It depends on what shift he worked. He'd run a couple miles and lift weights just every day. And I think that's part of the reason why the job wasn't worse for him than it could have been.
He had that outlet.
Yeah, and we used to follow him around town as kids because he wore like the old sweatpants. Like he was not like a fancy workout gear, and he'd have the old like flat top shoes, like running 3 miles.
Converse.
Yeah, it's like no wonder he has hip problems now. And we get our bicycles and chase him around town and start saying, "Doo, doo, 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 doo," calling him Rocky. And but that was modeled. I mean, that's really important to model that for your kids. That like exercise, fitness is important. Do it, make it a part of your routine. You don't have to do hours a day. You don't have to be into bodybuilding or marathons or CrossFit competitions. There's a lot of other ways to get active and get moving. Like just being outside tends to make you more active.
Yeah.
So I used to run a lot. I lift weights 4 or 5 days a week. And we could take a look at the setup in a little bit.
It's a nice setup. It's really nice. You showed it to me.
Had some hip problems, so I wasn't really able to do a lot of cardio that doesn't hurt, but got into rowing recently.
Okay.
Got a nice rowing machine, been doing that. Been getting up a little bit early every morning before I get the kids ready. Man, those first few mornings suck.
Yeah.
It's like, what am I doing? But usually if I wake up, I don't go back to sleep for 20 minutes. I'm awake anyway. Once I get through that first 4 or 5 minutes on the rower, like adrenaline kicks in, I'm good, and then I'm done. I got a good sweat. My lungs have been exercised. My mood has improved significantly. Like low back pain, hip pain is getting better, flexibility.
Yeah.
So that's how I get my cardio, and I try to do that 6 days a week at least. Usually take a break at some point. Deer hunt, do a lot of that outdoors, spend time outdoors. Part of it is meditative and being in nature. The other part is like if I'm doing it with any friends, it's social. And then something, that I recently picked up, and it's not because, I'm trying to be Joe Rogan. I always wanted to get into some kind of martial arts as a kid. I did more organized sports, your typical basketball, baseball, little league kind of stuff as a kid. And I haven't had an organized sport since high school. Did some intramurals in college. I wasn't that good, and they weren't very often and, not time consuming, but really missed that schedule, that discipline, that challenging yourself physically and mentally. And so it just so happened we have a really, really great setup here in my local town. Really cheap and affordable lessons from a really, really qualified, I don't know what they call it, teacher. Like some people they call
Hold on, I'm doing
dojos,
I was going to
masters.
say
Like,
office reference here. Like you like the assistant to the dojo master type thing.
no,
You
no,
clean the mats.
no.
Are you the
I probably
Dwight
should clean
Schrute?
the mats. Yes,
Are you the Dwight Schrute of your team?
probably. That probably would be me. Like
see it.
go in there, act like I know a lot, then like this little skinny kid just like pokes my eyes.
Stomps you.
But so anyway, I picked up jiu-jitsu for about a month now. And it's, I have no interest in ever being in a fight. I'm not a violent or aggressive person. It's not really my forte. Nice to be able to know how to defend yourself. But for me, it's really not, you're not striking or anything. It's just a lot of movement. It's kind of like physical chess. And it's improved like my mobility and lower body strength tremendously. And then just met like a lot of cool people. So
Cool. Yeah. So that's
not that everybody needs. I'm like Joe Rogan. You got to eat elk meat. You got to do jujitsu. Man, you got to sauna. You got to go in the ice.
Yeah, you got to have all the alpha brain stuff.
Yes,
too.
let me
Yeah.
push these supplements and these mushrooms and like.
I tried the alpha brain thing. Nothing.
Yeah,
It didn't do
I saw you drinking smart water the other day.
Yeah.
Did that do anything for you?
nothing. Nothing at all.
Yeah, I got this like
Yeah, just-
Aldi's or
Yeah,
Walmart stuff.
drinking sparkling
I
water.
tell you the worst bottle of water I've ever had because I'm on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And I tell you like the most, I don't say it's the best, but it's like the reliable place to stop are Casey's because most of our prisons
You
have
get
a
like
Casey's
3
nearby.
slices of pizza too, or is that just me?
Their breakfast pizza's killer, man.
Yeah, it
But you
is.
better get where you're going in a half an hour because you've
Yeah.
got a ticking time bomb and you're
Taco
good.
Bell.
You throw
Yeah.
coffee on top of that.
Yeah.
You better get somewhere soon. But they have the worst bottled water if you get the Casey's brand. It's literally like some old couple like in this dirty porcelain bathtub just dipping these bottles
Yeah.
and filling it. It's awful.
It's delicious.
Or it's like You know, like you go to a catering event and they're serving hot dogs or something, and like they've got that hot dog water, or like the high school like cafeteria.
Yeah.
That's like what their water tastes like.
Yes,
It's
sir.
brutal. So if you like that, get their water.
I've never tried it, but it sounds delicious.
No.
Yuck.
So I don't know. And from time to time, I eat healthy. From time to time, I don't. That's always been a struggle. I try to just at least avoid all stress eating. I know you work a crazy schedule, like on those 16s.
Yeah.
When you find yourself dragging, like, what do you do to get energy?
In all honesty, this is not okay. I live on nothing but the 5-hour energies and energy pills and coffee. On those weekends, that is all.
Yeah,
I
just be
have.
mindful of what's in there. You know, you don't need
Yeah.
to make your heart blow up.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Yeah, it takes a lot of
Yeah.
caffeine to do that. I'm just really sensitive to caffeine, so I've been drinking more caffeine as I get tired. But once in a while, I'll try to go for something sugary.
See, I feel like if I do a 5-hour energy and then an energy pill and just drink coffee, I don't feel anything at all still. Like I'm still like, oh, like 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, God, I'm still so tired.
So you wake up at 5:30,
Yeah.
do whatever, get your kids to school by 7:30 probably.
Yeah.
Just guessing. And then you do your own thing until 2.
Well, I mean, it all depends because for a while it was coffee and ESPN and then coffee and the news and then it was coffee and the Johnny Depp trial. Which, I mean, yeah.
I haven't watched ESPN since I lived in Chicago.
And-
Since Mike and Mike broke up, that
Oh, I know. Yeah.
and even then it was just all LeBron.
Yeah.
I don't have strong feelings on him one way or the other, but by God, it's like
It's
they're-
all, we know Jordan's better and then
Like
it's
the-
Kobe number 2.
the Blackhawks were in like, you know, game 5 of the Stanley Cup, and they're talking about LeBron. It's like,
Yeah.
but they know it pulls in people. Yeah, I agree. I think LeBron's
But-
one.
But other than
not
the
number
Johnny
one.
Depp trial and the Amber Heard trial, I have a buddy. He comes over. His name is Daniel. He's a buddy from Lodge. We get together and we have coffee together, kind of like what me and you are doing now. We kind of talk about the same exact things you and I are talking about. We just don't have the cameras at all.
So it's
you
probably
know?
safer.
Yeah, you know, we just he talks to me about what he's going through. I talk to him about what I'm going through, and we're just there. So that's probably one of the best coping skills I have.
So if
is-
let's say you've got that dark cloud like you're talking
Yeah.
about. You've tried, you know, walking the dog, doing some exercise, eating healthy, you know, whatever. You tried your normal routine and you're just not shaking.
Yeah.
What do you do next?
That's tough.
Is he one of the go-to guys that you can just say,
he
"Listen,
is-
man, I'm just not
yeah.
shaking this"?
Yeah, he's one of my go-tos. I have about 2 other people who it was funny because honestly, this past 2 weeks I was kind of like that as well, and it was just like clockwork. My phone blew up. Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. How are you? Hey, you good? Hey, give me a call. Let's get some coffee together.
That's
From
good. That's
multiple different people, and I don't know if it was just the universe saying, "Wake up, Joe! Like get out of it." But I was getting down that hole of just embracing it. And that's kind of rare for me now lately.
Yeah.
But, because I'm normally one of those guys who was always saying, reach out and talk, reach out and ask for help, you know, reach out and let me know, because I'm there for you. Like, that's always me. I know you're the same exact way. But at times, I'm just like, I can't. Like, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I'm not going to do anything today. But yeah, everyone.
It's nice to have that friend that'll meet you more than halfway.
Yeah.
That knows, like, you know, you're kind of in a funk.
It's not pushy, and it's that's with me. Like, don't push yourself on me.
But it's appropriately suggestive.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, yeah, Daniel, he's one of my go-tos. You probably would be too if you lived closer, not 2 hours away.
Yeah. A
You know.
little difficult, but I totally. Yeah. I think I totally get that. One of the things that I've tried to push with people, if I've spoke at all of our wellness things in the past, is that checking in before you check out. So having those people that know you, that know those, like, your baselines, your warning signs, like, you know, Joe and I talk every other day or text. I ain't got anything from him from a week, and he's not on vacation.
Yeah,
I know the weather's been kind of crap. I'm going to give him a call.
yeah. That's what it was. Last 2 weeks, that's exactly what it was.
And sometimes just scheduling something with a good friend. Listen, we're just going to chat every 2 weeks. You know, it doesn't have to be super often.
Yeah, because even when you talk to somebody and you break it down, you can learn something from that individual as well.
Yeah.
And they could say something that you've always been saying that you forgot about and say, hey, that reminder is there. And then it kind of just helps elevate you out of that out of that cloud.
For sure.
And that's one thing with corrections, just with you being involved with corrections and what you've seen. A lot of us in corrections don't want to talk about it. We don't want to acknowledge it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to break it down. We just want to embrace the cloud, or we just want to drink the day away. Like that's
Well, it's funny. Like we say that, but then we'll go to some of these things and people will talk our heads off.
yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to talk about it. Famous last words, because then they,
When I first went to my first therapy appointment, that's exactly what I said.
yeah.
More PG-13, maybe rated R of how I started off the conversation. But essentially it was, I don't need to talk to you, I'm fine. And then 2 hours later.
Though that's what we call, like, those are always the best sessions. Like, I got nothing to say. And we always know, okay, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
Because they're not laying there defensive.
You're probably like, bet, watch this.
No, it would just, from experience, like, okay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm going to make this little note and I'm going to show it to you at the end of the
I
session.
I was a blubbering mess at the end of my first therapy appointment. And I canceled it like 8 times too.
Oh, that's hard. Even for folks in my field.
I ran out of excuses.
There you
Like, my kid's homesick, my dog got out, my cat's pregnant again. After she's fixed, like everything you can think of, I threw out. And my wife was always like, Joe, you need to do this. You need to do this. And finally, I showed up, and the first thing I said was rated R. But essentially, I'm fine. I don't need to talk to you. And then 2 hours later, I originally talked to him once a week. That's how I started. It was that bad for me.
Well, I don't know that it needs to be that bad. That's kind of our standard in the field. I mean, now as mental health issues have increased and there are not enough providers, it's not uncommon to see people less often.
Yeah.
But starting out 1 hour a week, 45 minutes, whatever, pretty common.
Yeah. No, it
So
was.
It's not like you're crazy.
And I've said it before in the past in other podcasts, but he took off his shoes. And he was walking around the office with his socks on.
Yeah, maybe there's some logic to that. I'm not one of those guys. Like, you keep your shoes on, buddy.
I mean, he was just so chill. I felt like his pants were like, I'm a short guy. Okay, this dude's pants were well past his feet. So I don't know, like this picture, like his jeans just eating his feet. Okay. But it made me feel relaxed and just like, all right, this dude's kind of weird. I'm going to continue talking to
He
him.
may have read something into you. That's a bold move. You never.
It was. I mean, instantly shoes off. You're like, what?
Now, I've only had one patient where, like, nobody's really asked, but I've had one patient that took her shoes off.
Yeah.
Going through, like, a couple terminal illnesses, chronic pain, and, like, we were doing some meditation stuff and really loved the beach and, like, fine. We had a very good excuse. But clothes, shoes, everything stays on. We don't touch, you don't do any of that stuff in therapy because it even if it's appropriate, you got to watch out with handshakes and stuff.
I mean, I didn't give him a foot massage. I mean, that wasn't what we did.
I don't know.
You
I don't know you that well. I mean, I don't know if you're like popping toes. And
No. I mean, he just had his.
well, it's important that it worked. That's
and that was big for me. And I feel like in our roles, and just for me as well, just personally, I cannot recommend someone to talk to, reach out for help if I don't reach out for help.
Now, I
as
wonder.
well.
Think about that metaphor. So, when you come home from work, there's so much junk you have from work. You got candy, keys, key tabs, belts, shoes, pants, uniform.
Sometimes
hats.
OC in the beard.
Yeah, got to oil that out.
Yeah.
But are you really at home until you take your shoes off? Maybe that's what he was saying.
You talking about with the dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you really
Yes,
at home?
yeah.
Like, I don't want work Joe. I want real home
shoes
Joe.
off Joe, yeah.
Shoes off Joe.
Yeah.
Uniforms off.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought of it like that. That's a good point.
He may be onto something.
He's on to something.
He's onto something.
Yeah.
So,
I
but it
never
worked.
see him again. I take my shoes off first when I walk in and see what happens. That's what I do. Because he always takes his shoe
Listen,
off. and I'm
like,
just saying.
if you end up getting put in a hospital, just call me. I'll see if I can help.
I got 3 guys I can call to get me out of trouble. Got it. Thank you.
Well, I'm also the one that'll get you into trouble too. So just be mindful of that.
All
Like,
right. So don't talk to
It's a
Luke.
coin toss. It's a coin toss.
Got it.
So, yeah, I think we got a good idea, kind of where we came from, what we've been, dealing with. How long have you been in corrections now?
7 years. My hire date is September 21st, 2015.
Yeah, so I've been in just a little bit longer. And then I worked kind of in some settings during internship and postdoc and practicum stuff that were similar. But, yes, we've had about the same, we're in that same kind of time frame where there's like honeymoon periods, good periods, bad periods. So let's talk a little bit about some of our past episodes, some of the stuff that's coming through. So our first episode was kind of just like this. We just ad-libbed.
Our intro, yeah.
We'd only met like one other time. We were just like gonna
Yeah.
And then the second one was I think really great. We had William Young, who we've had on the last podcast with Stephanie. He's up to a bunch of cool stuff, starting out a wellness program in Nebraska. He's not new to wellness, but he's new to being like their guy.
Yeah.
For it.
I mean, he's always been their guy, but now he's officially
yeah.
their guy.
And he's published at least 2 books, probably other essays, done blogs, trainings, spoken at conferences. So an expert.
Podcast, Just Corrections with William Young.
Yeah, so he's just a really down to earth, likable, cool guy. So we had a really cool conversation with him. The third episode, I think we were really nervous for. Who did we meet?
It was, hi, my name is Joe Valentine. Nice to meet you, Rob Jeffries. Can we do a funny interview with you? That's how that went.
And Joe and I talked about this a lot before.
We didn't even tell our
wanted to do something
bosses. Well, that's the key thing. We didn't even tell John or Chuck.
No, and
what
we
we were
were
gonna
we
do.
were we were going back and forth like, oh, this would be funny, but man, I don't know if we should. Like, who's going to introduce this idea to him? We say all that.
I said you, and then the last minute.
He was down from the get go.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know what that is. Let's do it. Yeah, let's have some fun.
He said if it's for the staff, let's do it. Let's get it done.
Yeah,
Let's make it happen.
yeah. So he definitely did. We got to have a nice conversation with him about training, some new directives, some other things he's trying to put in place. Not just him, but other people.
Yeah.
They're really trying to make staff wellness bigger, better, more efficient.
For the staff, absolutely.
And he, I mean, we've always wanted to do another podcast. Stephanie and I kind of put one together during COVID, so it was really difficult because we were hardly ever in the same spot.
Yeah.
It was okay. We didn't have the time to plan. We weren't in the same spot. We couldn't really get guests in person because of COVID at that point.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a neat way to reach people. And the director's the one that actually reached out and was like, get these guys to start something up. We need another one. I want this.
They picked us.
It's good. Yeah. So, yeah. So he was really cool. So, and fourth one was where?
At Decatur Training Academy. And we,
A beautiful facility.
yeah. I mean, I feel like we were the last ones picking out our uniforms, our cadet uniforms.
Because it was literally their last day before graduation.
The uniforms we had on were like 4X.
We could have both hopped in
Yeah.
one uniform.
One
and
pair of
like,
pants.
Like those little kid movies where like the guys
Yeah.
on top, they got the trench coat, they're acting like an adult. We could have totally done that.
Yep.
And still had room. But a really cool place. We got to talk to a lot of the different folks in training. And I'm sorry, I forget all their positions, but got to talk to a lot of them. Got to see a lot of cool stuff. Like the auditorium there is beautiful. There's all these computers.
Shout out to Steve Martin down there right now as well. I mean, he literally said,
Steve Martin, the comedian?
No.
Who are you talking about?
The guy in charge of the academy.
Stephen Ryan.
Stephen Ryan.
Yeah, Stephen Ryan.
I did not mean to call him Steve Martin. I don't know why
He doesn't look anything like Steve.
Oh, God. Well, there goes our...
Yes.
I cannot go to the new training academy now. There's
Yeah,
that.
Steve was very accommodating. We had to spend a little time
Curtis
with Myron,
Marshall.
a lot of time with Curtis Marshall. We
Yeah.
kind of stole his day.
Yeah. The first thing he said was, I'm not going to do any interviews.
And the last thing he did was a long interview.
Yeah, we
We actually got him for a couple things. So
Yeah.
he gave us a tour of some of the new stuff going on. We got to do a lot of time in that new simulator. That was so
Yeah.
cool. Like, immediately our heads were spinning like, how can we use this? We would do more.
There was one moment you were like, spray him! Spray him, Joe! Spray him!
I'm hiding behind. Get him, Joe! Get him, Joe! Protect
And
him,
I'm
Joe.
just laughing the entire because, and I wasn't laughing because of the simulation being bad. It was because it was so realistic.
So real.
And
It's
that's-
a 360. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's like several screens all the way around you. This big, like almost UFC style octagon with just screens around you. The floor vibrates and moves a little bit, and it's 3D. So it's not like you're just seeing this fuzzy image. It's
No, yeah,
very
it's-
realistic. Like probably 4K like refresh rates. The sound.
You sound like you're on a wing, and so what it does is it simulates and puts you in a situation that we face every day in corrections with the individuals in custody. And it's one of those things that you have OC, you have a radio.
Well, it depends, right? So it depends
yeah.
on what you get in the scenario. But they've got interactive tools from firearms that are the exact analogs that have infrared stuff,
Yeah.
OC spray, cuffs, I think they've got tasers. Not that we use them, but they've got a number of. I think some of the police that
He
we
didn't
trained
let us
there-
play with the tasers because we
He
would
didn't
just
know we
tasing.
played with the
we
taser.
would've- yeah.
But no, they've got everything for like most types of law enforcement there. Just corrections isn't going to use all of that, but and they have hand selected so many scenarios that really, really fit us well. And so typically there are, a handful of people at those computers entering data kind of live depending on your interactions and what you do. So it kind of escalates, de-escalates, brings
If you go in
everything to-
straight up, just being a tool, like just being that guy to bring up the energy. If you go in at a 10, more than likely the guy running the computer is gonna be like, "All right, here we go," and they come back at you with a 10. All
Yeah,
live.
and those guys running the computers have, I think Curtis is like a master trainer, so he can train others. They've had from the company that builds and does these things, dozens of hours of training on this. They understand the theory, the analytics, the computer side. The computer does a lot too, but it just it needs more interface. Let's say it was quite an experience, and to know that all of our correctional officers are getting out there, and they don't have other people just playing parts. These are real scenarios. Really, really cool. So we got to do that. We got to eat chow where they eat chow. Pretty nice, actually.
Really good food, yeah.
Pretty good food. Just beautiful landscape scenery out there. Just a really cool place. And we got to ride back and forth to the graduation practice and kind of talk candidly to some of the folks about what they like, dislike, fears, goals.
Why they're in corrections now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was good to kind of talk to the cadets a little bit as well.
And a lot of them, we had some
Your
people-
nephew.
Yeah, my nephew's over there. So some of the folks were saying, hey, I did something similar, but this is real. Like, this is state. This is a real, like, legit, which I love to hear because it's, we get that pride, again, in what we do. And other folks were like, I've had jobs, but this is a career. This is going to be something that, again, is going to boost me and my family to middle class. I'm going to have good health insurance. My kids are... So a lot of those reasons. Nobody's like, well, I don't know, I just took the job. Like, they were all, very thoughtful about why they got into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely they were.
So that was fun. This obviously is the 5th episode.
Yes.
Early December, so we're, November 9th today?
Yeah.
I don't know when
This won't come out till January.
You'll put it out before then. Get to work. We're going to interview Scott Spezio. So for the first time, I'll say his name, Scott Spezio. If you guys are baseball fans, you know that name. If you're not a baseball fan, you still might. So 2-time World Series winner, one with the Angels and one with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So played with a lot of Hall of Fame baseball players. Hit some major home runs during postseason games. Played a lot of different positions. Like, just a all-around great player from Illinois. So from kind of the Joliet area. Went to college at U of I. So been an Illinois guy his whole life. Father was a pro baseball player. But he struggled with some addiction issues and some other stuff, and has really made a lot of concerted efforts to turn his life around. And he's been really, really open about that story and sharing with anybody who he thinks it might help or might listen. So he's been really willing to let us come up and talk to him. And so it'd be kind of cool because we got so many baseball fans.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like a nerd alert. I loved when he had that Red Soul patch back in the day, and like, just a nerd for the Cardinals. So
I want to do that interview live, like in person with him.
I think we can. Yeah, we'll be able to do it. We got equipment now. We can travel up there.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's we're close to Stateville, so we can make some trips up there, check on some folks. So we're gonna try to do that in early December, and that will probably definitely be January before that's out. But so that'll be really exciting. We've got another IDOC person who does a lot of mental health work on a part-time basis outside of corrections. He's had a lot of couples and family work, so he got nervous. So she said she's totally willing. We just got to find kind of a time to sneak down
Hopefully this works.
to Vandalia. Jessica Wright's going to help us out. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the family stuff you guys do. We'll throw those ideas out there, talk to her about those and relationships. I know kind of our fearless leader, John Brown, has got some ideas. We missed the call with him this morning. Sorry, John.
You missed the call with him this morning. I talked to him on the phone today, and he goes, "Hey,
What do you need me
call
for?"
me at 9:30." I said, "Okay." So when I walked in, as he poured my coffee, I said, "You gotta call John."
You didn't say anything. You forgot. You were like, "Oh, we're gonna tweak this camera this way. Oh, you need to get this light on. Oh, blah blah blah." So, yeah, he's got some other ideas. I know we're gonna do some training, especially for kind of administrative level staff, executive staff, on suicide prevention, kind of assessment, next steps when we've got one of our employees who may or may not kind of be on that line. What to do. So I know our chief of psychiatry, William Puga, he and his daughter, who's actually a psychiatrist,
Okay.
and some other folks did some training kind of near the beginning of COVID for that. And so kind of looking to do some follow-up, especially for like DAO level and above.
I got you. Yeah.
But we may do something on the podcast. I told him, I'm like, we got a podcast. You got to do this. Let's two birds, one stone this thing.
Yeah.
We can video. And
Between two beards, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we can put it between two beards.
I
So
like that.
he's up in the Joliet area. That's where
Yeah.
his office is. So we can do two in one day. We can.
I did talk to Steve Howater as well.
Oh yeah.
Howie.
So Howie was a longtime staff wellness person. One of our guys that got it off the ground. He made it to the end. He retired.
Yep. So he just texted me right before we got started. Said, "I got your message. I'm down." So
Awesome. Howie would be awesome. Another guy that has been really popular on our last podcast and at the conference we had, Chico.
Yep,
So
Chico.
Rob Miller, retiree, again, really open and honest about his personal struggles, which makes it so good because he doesn't hold anything back.
Yeah.
But it also is great because there's light at the end of the tunnel because he was in a dark place and he's in a much better place now.
Good.
But I think part of, those guys that have those big hearts, like part of them staying good is sharing and helping other people. So he's definitely willing. So maybe we'll do kind of a retiree.
Yeah, that's two retired people.
Maybe we get them
that
at the same
have.
time.
Yeah, might as well.
Have them come to the studio.
4 people. Yeah.
We got 4 mics.
We got 4 mics.
Well, actually, we've got a couple more because we got your mic and my other mic, and we could probably input them somehow. We'll get something
Somehow.
going.
Yeah, I'll figure that out too. Yeah.
Between 4 mics, we'll get it going.
Yeah.
So they're coming on at some point soon. We've had a lot of outreach. It's been really awesome. Like, even on the first episode, I hardly call an episode because we kind of bantered for 10 minutes and
Yeah,
like
that's all it was.
blubbered our way through
Hey,
it.
my name's Joe. This is Luke.
But people thought it was cool. And after the second one, I've gotten a lot of text, Facebook, work emails, you name it, from
Yeah.
all kinds of friends, family members, people I've worked with that just thought it was cool. And a lot of them had some good suggestions.
Yep.
So they do want to talk a lot about toxicity in the workplace, relationships, having appropriate relationships in the workplace, training, professionalism, that kind of stuff. So
Yep. Yep.
we're listening. We'll put some more stuff together that fits with that. I'd love to do something financially, like financial wellness, but I don't know who we got that's a guru, and I'm not pushing anybody's system.
Yeah. I'm down.
I'm kind of like Will Ferrell on that. He came on a talk show, and they're like, "What are you up to, Will?" He's like, "Cashing checks and snapping necks." E&B, baby, earn and burn, earn and burn. I'm not great at saving. I'm always I'm dead even.
I just give it all to my wife and say, do what you want with
Well,
it.
we've done better, and that's what I've done. So
Yeah. Here it is. Here's all the overtime money. You
yeah,
just
because I'll get cool toys like this.
yeah. Yeah. How'd that conversation go?
It was short but sweet.
Yeah.
So, but no, honestly, this is a good investment for us and for everybody else, and it'll get some good use.
I
Some good
agree.
use.
I like it. And it's a fun toy I get to play with now whenever I come over.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what we've got on the radar. Anything else you can think about that we might want to cover, get into?
I thought this episode would be good for us to talk about kind of our own personal journeys.
Yeah.
And we've done that. Also talk about what you brought up more of what we've covered already.
Yep.
And the different dimensions of wellness. Like actually kind of try to dive into them a little bit more like we did and provide the resources and the ideas like the whole point of this podcast is to do. I think we
Yes, we'll say it again. Eat elk meat, do jujitsu, get in a sauna, do ice baths, take crazy mushroom stuff for your brain.
alpha brain is what it's called. It doesn't do anything at all. At all.
Well, but no, like it is great for us to talk about physical exercise stuff, financial stuff, family stuff, relational stuff, environmental spiritual. Maybe that's the thing we need. We need to get some spiritual wellness because I'm not very interested. I'm not the expert at all on
We
that.
all have our own spiritual way to keep wellness.
So Chico will talk about it because I know he's gotten into that. That's something that's helped him.
Yeah.
But we'll look for some experts, and if you guys have anybody who's, hey, go talk to him or her on spiritual wellness, meditation, anything in that kind of realm, shoot us an email at that staff wellness email. Joe will put it up on the screen.
Yep,
and
I'll
it'll
put
be
it up.
in the links.
We officially have this email now, so yeah.
And what is the email? Is it like swrt@illinois.gov?
Hold on. I don't have it memorized. Luke, why would you ask me that right now?
We can edit this.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
Oh, crap, my password changed.
Yeah, mine did today too.
I can't log in.
I tell you, I hate remembering all these passwords for everything. It's too much. Too many computers,
I
too
don't
many
have
passwords.
access to it on here.
We'll put the link. We'll put up the link.
Yeah.
But most of you who know us know other ways to get a hold of us. So the staff
Yeah.
wellness, the Facebook page, our personal Facebook stuff. Don't inundate our personal emails. But by gosh, if you need to get a hold of us, that's how you get a hold of us. State
Absolutely.
phones.
Yeah.
Let us know who you got for some of those people who might be good to bring in. Now, we don't have a huge budget, but a lot of people will come and talk to us because they want to promote wellness too, whether it's
Yeah.
corrections or just in general.
Just in closing, this is kind of what I want to say on my end in closing. No matter what we go through as individuals, we all handle things differently. We all grieve. We all struggle. We all handle our depression and our anxiety differently. Don't forget that we do have resources out there to help. The suicide hotline, PSP for state employees, the responders health is the first responder.
Yeah.
That's available for all security staff as well. We also have the CF2F class that is up and rolling. Reach out to your facility coordinators and ask them to be put on the list, and we will get you.
I mean, each facility has, probably at least one on every shift.
Yeah.
Give or take,
Yeah.
represented as a staff wellness. There's a staff wellness room almost in every facility now.
Right now, yeah.
I know that was a big push from the director, the deputies, other chiefs. They got that going.
Yeah.
That was great. Everybody who works for us has pretty decent insurance, so it's going to be a number of different plans, but you can either go through your insurance and get a list of preferred providers. You can go to a number of websites, local hospitals, whatever, find providers, and then kind of work backwards, and they'll tell you if they take insurance or not. Even if they don't, you can often submit on your own and get reimbursed. You can use something like a flexible spending account to pay copays and some of that stuff on there. There's a lot of programs inside and outside of insurance that are pretty low fee, cost effective, and your life's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And be louder than that negative energy around you when it comes to being honest and not honest about our mental health. Be louder than that guy who says you're weak if you ask for help. That's one of the biggest things I push for. And I'll always say that on my end, if I go to end anything I do, be louder as much as you can, because you never know who you might help and who you might save in your own personal journey of your own mental health struggles.
Yeah, and be a model, right? So there's a lot of toxicity. It's easy to jump in that pool and go for a swim, stay in the sidelines of that pool.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? A lot of things are wrong at every job, but be mindful of what you can control, what you can't, and be a model.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got on my end, Luke. What do you got? We good?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining us. It was fun this time. We'll do this again some other time.
Soon.
All right.